do the same thing with this.
Okay.
Any questions before we start?
Well, the only question is that I do read, I'm in a different situation depending on what I'm reading. So for example, if I'm doing research, I wouldn't even sit down to read something until I had thought through what problem I'm working on. So I come to it with a lot, as opposed to scanning the newspaper or something like that. So it's not a universal position that when I'm sitting down and reading. But we'll see what I do when I do this. Okay. So I'm going to read the background information. This is an abbreviated version of a true story, originally recounted by Simon Wiesenthal in his book, The Sunflower. So first thing I notice is that there's a parenthesis that's lonely. So maybe they're meant to be a parenthesis in the first beginning of the sentence. Abbreviated version. So that makes me think, I wonder who did the abbreviations. I wonder what's missing. For what purpose was it abbreviated? Was there anything that was important that was missed out? I wonder if I could get my hands on the whole version of the story. Version of a true story. That I stop there and think, wow, there's been a lot of controversy about memoirs and what constitutes a true story. Is it a first-person narrative? Who says it's true? Does he say it's true? Are there any? In what way does it mean true? Simon Wiesenthal, I know that name, but I don't think I've ever read anything by him. So I'm not thinking, if I had known something of the author, I'd probably stop there in some ways and try to remember what I had read and what I thought about what I read and in what context I had read it. But I have no specific associations, although again, I recognize the name, but I can't remember what. The book, The Sunflower, I have no associations with that at all. So I think this is something completely new. I am thinking that my vague associations with Simon Wiesenthal are about something about the Holocaust and World War II, but I can't remember. I'm maybe only 75% accurate of that, so I'm wondering if I'm right about that or if I've confused him with someone else. Okay, so Simon, a Jew who was captured trying to escape the Nazi persecution of Jews, is placed in a concentration camp, though he committed no crime. I would stop there and say, that's kind of interesting phrasing, actually, though he committed no crime, because I never think of people in concentration camps actually having committed any crime. Or if I had thought about them as criminals, they would be artificial criminals in that they would have broken some very unjust law. So that sentence stops me because it somewhat contradicts all of my, not all, many of my assumptions about why people were placed in concentration camps. I assume people were placed in concentration camps because of identity, perhaps because of so-called subversive activity, which I would not see as criminal. So that stops me. He is horribly treated, underfed, overworked, and in fear for his life. Nothing about the negative connotations of those two first sentences stops me at all, because it's sort of like, yeah, concentration camps, of course. It's not a playground. So that doesn't stop me in my thinking.